What project management approach should you select you should select for your project? My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management specialist. I help professionals to become successful project managers. Just to make this a bit more concrete, how I help those professionals, sometimes helping them to prepare their CV, sometimes helping them to prepare for interviews, sometimes helping them in real cases, like a project manager in the past that I had. He was struggling their project. They were struggling. I helped him to put structure, to identify risks, and to properly communicate those things to organization to make sure that they would have a clear priority and how to move forward also for the organization. Of course, so those are the how I help people can be in very different ways, from mentoring sessions, development programs, to even MS project training. But I'm here, of course, because if your goal is to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you in this journey. The topic I'm going to talk about today is a topic that pop ups a lot, and I got a few questions in the previous day, so I want to talk about different project management approach, predictive, waterfall, hybrid approach, and so on. But before I start talking about these and go into more in deep content, don't forget to like this video here and share with other people so more people can understand project management, more people can understand the different project management approaches and to see how they can have value for that. And of course, every time you push the button like here or you share with other people, you help me to understand that this content has value for you, and you're also going to help the social media to distribute this content for more people. That also helps me there. So let's talk about different project management approach. Basically, what you can have from one side predictive. Predictive, it's also known as waterfall or the traditional way, depending on how you're going to do it. What's the traditional way? Planning in advance, execute and control, and you deliver something. Then you can go to the agile, what it is that you build something incrementally because you have a lot of unknowns in the beginning. But what's interesting here in the PMI Pulse of Profession 2024, it shows that both the predictive approach, the waterfall approach, but also the agile approach, they're following their number of use. What does it mean in practice that? Well, it means although the predictive and agile it's going down, the number of companies using a hybrid approach is increasing. And why is that relevant for you? Because that's one of the things I always say that you should never only learn predictive or you should never only learn agile or only learn scrum. Why? Because different projects will have different requirements. And that's of why you see more and more the talk or the focus on tailoring. What's tailoring? Tailoring is basically adapt the procedures or the project management approach to a specific situation. For example, in the past, I've worked in a project that I was working inside of a mine company. They were expanding the mine company, and I was responsible for to expand the power supply of the plant. But in the mine itself, there was more than I think the project for the expansion there was more than 10,000 of people working on that one. So you can imagine that a project with that big, with that level of complexity, because the project was in the middle of the Amazon forest, has a lot of type of constraints, requirements from communication, leadership, team organization, KPIs, alignments, interface management among different stakeholders. Then other types of projects, because for example, a few years ago, I've worked in a project that was a service development in the healthcare industry where the idea was healthcare you have those big equipments there like MRAs and so on that they are quite expensive. So the service was basically downloading the data of those exams to find better ways to execute it to make the better use of those equipments to make it more efficient. In other ways, using lean management or lean manufacturing in a healthcare environment, which is quite nice. What those projects they had in difference? Well, for this project it was a service development, so we were working a small team. I believe the team was I don't know 4 or 5 people, everyone in the same location, or at least because we had some remote work, but at least everyone in the same time zone. and with a very different types of constraints that you see in a mine area in the middle of the Amazon there. So of course, those projects, they're completely different. The risks involved in these projects are completely different. The constraints involved in these projects they're completely different. So of course, it very naturally you're going to look for different ways how you're going to execute it. And that's why every time I mention that the PMBOK is not a procedure, PMBOK is not a methodology, PMBOK it's a standard. And even if you look for the previous version, like six book, that was a very prescriptive and process oriented version there, focusing mainly on waterfall predictive there. It was already there, created, intended to be something as a standard where you can understand it, all the pieces there, all the knowledge areas, how they are interconnected, and how those moving parts work. Based on that, you're going to create a systemic view. Then what you're going to do, you come back to the company that you are working on or to the industry that you are working on, and you are going to see what fits. Okay, this is a service in the service development. I have five people working a project with two or three stakeholders that we need to communicate more often. The other one was billion-dollar project with more than 10,000 people working on that, several companies working in parallel, a lot of interface to be managed. So you need different types of communication, different types of RACs, different type of interface management, different types of iteration there. So you cannot try to execute or to manage those projects. If you look for, when I'm talking about manage those projects, I'm talking about really the hard project management part or the core fundamental parts of project management. Yeah, the same way for the mine. You should just look for the timeline because there was probably more than 10 companies working there in this expansion directly, plus the other suppliers and everyone. If you involve it, then you have hundreds of companies and thousands of people working on that directly or indirectly. So it requires a different type of timelines, different type of management, how you're going to put this in an overview, how you're going to communicate it, how you're going to make sure everyone is aligned, what kind of KPIs you're going to track it. There was some safety KPIs there because, of course, to make sure that everyone working in an area that has it can be a risky area, everyone was aligned on that. So you cannot try to mix those things up. You cannot try to do the same thing there. So that's why you see a lot of discussions on tailoring, and of course, tailoring is one of the PMBOK principles. The PMBOK 7 edition is a principle-based edition. Tailoring is one of those principles. Why? Because you need to understand tailoring in all those different circumstances there, so you can understand how you can add value for your organization. Your goal as a project manager is to deliver value because the ultimate goal of any project is to deliver value. That if you have been following me for a bit longer, I hope you understand that for now. And what do you see then in this graph here? That's why you see the hybrid mode growing. Because although predictive can add a lot of value in specific situations, agile, and I'm talking about agile, the umbrella term, can add a lot of value in specific situations. There's a lot of situations that's quite difficult if you say I'm going to apply 100% for that. For example, if you're working with product development, physical products there, if you're working, for example, with plastic components development there, working with Scrum, for example, poorly, if you say I'm going to work with Scrum framework, the way it's designed to work, it gets very difficult. Why? Because one of the prerequisites of Scrum is the time boxing. So the idea is you're going to have a sprint, minimum 1 week, maximum 4 weeks. But in 4 weeks, a lot of times it's the timeline that you need only to adapt a plastic tool there, depending on the complexity of the product you are dealing on, will be higher than 4 weeks. The lead time to produce the first version of the tool already that still needs to be adjusted can take easily 15, 20 weeks there. So you cannot even fit a lot of those activities in a sprint because it's hard to do that. But does not mean that you cannot learn from some items or some aspects from Scrum, to understand how you can how you can mix some points there, and how those things can go together to make sure that you can really create uh, additional value, considering that you understand what's waterfall, you understand what's agile, you understand how the different ways and the different situations they can add value, so you can start to mix. It's like cooking. If you do not know how to cook, first time you follow a recipe, and that's Predictive, that's Scrum. The second time, and more you get experience on that one, then you can start to try to experiment. Then you change a bit the recipe to something that you like, and that's more or less the idea that you have with the tailoring. And then you come up with something that they call a hybrid approach. For example, I'm showing here, I'm going to show it to you here, uh, the ways of working. This is, of course, I did not create this. This is an image from the Project Management Institute, where they talk about those predictive, agile, and the different types of flavor that you can have in hybrid. Ones that are much closer to the predictive, other ones that are much closer to agile. To understand that you can start to adapt. For example, the hybrid closer to predictive, most of the things that you use, it's the predictive approach, the planning. Why? Because not in all situations you are going to be possible to work on sprints. So here's an example that you see that might not be the best one, like the stand-ups or the daily scrums, depending how you want to call it. That's something that you can do using a predictive approach in specific situations to add value there. And of course, I mean, I'm mentioning one of the items, but you also can think about a sprint retrospective. That's the idea that you're going to sit with your team to see how you can improve. That's something that you could possibly include in a predictive approach there. Other types of terminology. If you are developing a new product, you can divide the phases in different ways. If you have a long design phase, you might be able to break down pieces of the design in sprints. So there are a lot of different ways that can be done. But here's one thing that you need to understand. There's no ready recipe there saying, mm, I'm going to find a book, or I'm going to find a training that's going to give you a very ready solution. Because the first step, and that's why the focus on tailoring is a lot, and there's a lot of discussions around it. Every project is unique, and every situation is different. Every organization is going to be different. Culture, procedures, interactions with customer, level of knowledge. So understanding it's very important that instead of trying to find a ready solution that you're going to apply for all cases, and meaning that very often that you don't see as a lot of value there. By the way, I've seen consulting companies doing that, and I've been in companies where the company hired a consulting company, and the company come up with a ready solution and say use it without understanding. But the first step on a problem solving is like to understand your problem. In this case, of course, selecting a way of work should not be a problem, but it comes from with certain constraints. What's the kind of culture that you have in the company? What kind of procedures that you have in the company? What kind of procedure flexibility do you have in the company? What kind of leadership that you're going to have in the company? What kind of expectations from stakeholders that you need to manage there? Then you look for the customer. What's your type of contract? What's your type of customer? Some customers there would love to get involved in the day to day of the project. Some other customers there say, I don't care what you're going to do there. That's why I hired you. You are the specialist. Do whatever you want to do. It. I just need my product at this date here. So without understanding those things, it will be very difficult to work or to just get this ready solution and try to apply it. But that's how about the beauty also of project management, because there are so many options out there that you can continue to develop and continue to create, but also that makes difficult for an artificial intelligence at this point just replace everything that a project management can do. So this is a competitive advantage for us. So stop trying to fit everything in a box like that. In life, you're never going to see that things are never black and white like that. Of course, there are things that are much more black and white than others, that you can say like it's much easier to see the difference in the contracts there, but you're not going to be able to find a lot of things in life. They are not going to be so structured. And of course, if you're studying something, for example, if you study how to create a timeline, very beautiful when you study, then you have a case where you have the data. But when you go for the real life, things will not be like that. So instead of just coming with a ready solution and trying to be a like a bad consultant there, trying to push people to use a solution that even you do not understand. Otherwise, if you would have a good understanding of the solution, you would see that first you need to you have all those different type of variants, and then, of course, you need to understand the problem. Otherwise, it's impossible to solve something that you do not understand. So, coming up with those ready things, and you're not going to find it. And that's exactly the reason why I always say, dear project manager, learn waterfall, learn what's agile, learn Scrum, learn Kanban, learn Lean, because all those different things will help you to broaden your view, will help you to have better tools to solve problems, will help you to have a better understanding in all the different ways that you can add value in your organization. And that's the in the end what's going to make you a successful project manager. Because when you are doing learning all those different pieces, you are going to build this systemic view there. And this systemic view combined with the complex environment where projects are executed. Why complex environment? Because first of all, you are dealing with people. People are different, and thank God for that. We are all different and unique, which is a very nice thing. Of course, we have similarities, but you're never going to see things working exactly the same way with the different people. And companies, what are companies? They are a group of people, and a lot of companies they have a lot of people there, 10,000s of employees there. So all those interactions, they are going to bring different types of complexity for you. How your competitors behave will bring different type of complexity for you. How the economy behave will bring different types of complexity for you. How other things completely outside of anybody's control. Like few years ago, we had COVID, which basically changed the entire way that the entire world had to operate. We went to lockdowns, a lot of supply chain stops, factoring they were stopping productions. So in this scenario that's very complex there, and this complexity will continue moving around. There's nothing that you can do there. So you're not going to be able to find something or control this complex world that you need to have there. So what you need to have is have better tools how to face this complexity. And that's why the different frameworks will give you those better tools, those different perspectives in how to add value, in how to progress with something, how to develop with something. And then of course it's very nice that you can look for the different flavors of a hybrid project or a hybrid way of work that if you want to call like that, because that will give you some ideas or better ideas in how you execute a project. And that will help when you see, and I mean everything is unique, but you can easily see similarities. So you can learn by analogy. And with these analogies that you're going to make, then you can start to develop something that's very unique. That's something that's very valuable for your company. And I've worked in different companies, in different industries, in different places around the world. But every company that you go there, you find some type of uniqueness. Maybe because of it's a industry related, maybe because it's a product related, maybe it's because a culture related for the company. and maybe because you're in a global environment with all types of different cultures that it can affect like that. But again, that's the beauty of project management, that you don't have anything that's very rigid, that should be unchangeable. Project management has been evolving for years and will continue to evolve. So if you want to be successful there, and if you want to have a long run, if you want to think in the long term, you need to continue to develop yourself to see how you're going to add value. So stop looking for looking for a ready solution because it's just easier, and start to think about how you can develop yourself, how you can understand, develop your skills, your problem solving skills, your analytical skills, your leadership skills, yeah, and of course, the types of knowledge, the fundamental knowledge that you need to be there. Because here's another very common mistake where people say, project management is all about the communication. Yes, there's a lot of communication to project management. But if you say, I'm a great communicator, but you don't know anything about managing a project, you are going to have a problem because you need to understand the basics on the timeline, scope, how to handle those things. You need to learn how you're going to handle your team, how you're going to solve problems. So there's much more than just a box with a solution for you to use. And sooner that you understand that the beauty, of course, one of the beauties of project management, and that's also why I've loved that from the beginning when I start to work with that, is you can learn so much. There's always possibility to learn, to develop. There's always going to be something else that you can look, you can change. Then you see that there's one thing I can guarantee you, that the journey will never be boring because there's so much to learn, so much to understand, so many things to do, so many different approaches that you can take, that the journey starts to be very interesting. And something that I need to tell you very straightforward, if you don't like change, if you want to have something in a box there saying, but I want someone to tell me this and I'm always going to use it, the chances are that you probably should not work with project management. I understand that in a manufacturing environment, it's much easier to have something that's much more static. That's why it's an operation there. That's an activity that you just keep repeating for years and years and years. Of course, you can have improvements, you can have Six Sigma projects and so on. But mainly, you're going to keep repeating the cycle that you have there. But in projects, no. You're going to find all different types of products, different types of service, different types of construction. Technology changes, the way how the team interacts changes. I think probably 10 years ago, most of or a big most of the projects they were handed like in face-to-face meetings. With the use of online tools was much less. And nowadays, and that was one of the nice things, but I was already working with that before COVID. But basically, COVID throws everyone there in this world of kind of the digital world, online meetings, online development, online interactions. Even people that don't like that. So that's only to prove to you that those things are continually evolving and changing. But does it mean that you need to continue evolve with that if you want to have a solid career, a solid if you want to continue to develop your skills, if you want to continue to develop to grow? That's a very nice journey, I can tell you. But you need to stop limiting yourself to a fixed solution like that. So hybrid, nice. And again, what's hybrid? Just mixing predictive and agile. And how you're going to mix it, there's probably infinite solutions how you can make this mix in a very different, in millions of different combinations, how you want to do that. So it's up to you to learn those different pieces, build your systemic view to make sure that you can add value to your company. Otherwise, you might end up hiring also a consultancy company because that I see, and then you come with those consultants. And I'm nothing against consultants. I'm a consultant myself. And of course, there are a lot of good consultants there. But there's also those people that they think that they, because they had a solution for a specific case, they want to sell exactly the same solution for everybody. I'm not saying that it will not work, the same solution, but what I can guarantee to you that the same solution without any type of adaptation will never work for everyone else. So keep that in mind. Yeah, see this change that's going on in project management as a positive thing, as new opportunities to learn, new opportunities to development, a new world of things that's coming up. Like it's very nice to see those hybrid approach and see how the companies are going to do that in practice, to see the experiments, to look for the data, because in the end, that's what a bit we are doing there. We the company has a target. You have a project that should help to bridge the actual status to this target, to this strategy there. But this bridge there, it's not going to the project there. It's not going to be straightforward because the environment will keep changing, the complexity will keep arising, and it's up to you as a competent project manager to help to guide the company in this journey. But if you are the one that you don't want to take the journey and you just want to stick with a solution and say that's the best thing in the world, then you are going to lose a lot of fun and you are going to lose a lot of value that you can deliver for your organization. So when I'm talking about tailoring, when I'm talking about hybrid, is basically the message is it's just different ways to look for the different situations or the different types of problems, if you want to call like that, to see what are the different possible ways that you could deliver value. And does it mean that the predictive is wrong? No. Does it mean that Agile, Scrum, or Kanban that are wrong? No. Different situations will require different approaches. What does it mean in reality? That when you know all those things, you're going to start to see, okay, this situation here does not make sense for me to do a big waterfall plan. What I'm talking about, this is a 3 months thing that we are doing in a room. Much better to go for a Scrum, something like that. We don't have any external supplier. We don't have any physical product we are developing. It's mainly intellectual work. So you can use Scrum or you can use Kanban. Okay, let's just manage the flow of work to make sure that we can get where we want to be as soon as possible. But if you're building a bridge, yeah, then using Scrum will be much more difficult. So go for the waterfall approach, or just think, okay, but I really like this sprint retrospective. I think that's something that can beneficial for my team. So I'm going to discuss with my team. Maybe we can do a sprint retrospective once a month, short meeting. Try to do some time boxing. Otherwise, you end up spending a lot of time just complaining. But instead of take the approach, say how we are going to improve. And when you start to have those discussions how to improve, things will get funnier, get better. You are going to improve. You are going to help to develop your team. You are going to help to develop yourself, which is going to start to pave the way to be a more successful project manager. And it's not just because you did that once that will solve the problem. It's like getting feedback. It's a continuous process. It's like here, continuous improvement. Kaizen again comes from Lean. So you need to continue to work, and if you're continuous to develop yourself, then you start to move, go up, 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 and those things will start to compound, and we are start going to get the results to be where you want to be. So just to wrap up, the final message is very important for you to be a successful project manager is to understand, of course, waterfall, agile, Scrum, Kanban, Lean, understanding that all those things they have their value in different types of situations. It's up to you as a project manager to understand this value and see how you can better tailor your project and what kind of additional value you can bring to your organization there. And of course, that's exactly like that in my development program. I do have all those components there because I want to help people to build the systemic view, to develop themselves, and to deliver more value for organization. Because in the end, your market value is based on what kind of value that you can deliver. If you say I can deliver this type of value here, your market value will go up. No company will pay you this 100 here if you are delivering 50 of value, because in this case the company is losing money, and so they need you as a project manager to create more value. If you create 300 in value and they are the company can easily pay you 100, because then they are making money paying you the 100 that they're paying you, or 100 is just a random number, but just to make a clear point here. Again, don't forget to like and share this video with more people that needs to understand project management, the different project management approach, why it's important to learn them, and why it's and how when kind of situations you can think about use them. If you get my message, of course, you can comment in the video here. I get it because that also helps me to communicate my to helps me to clarify my communication to you. If you have questions, you can ask here in the video. You can ask in the Q&A box on my Instagram. If you are not following me yet, make sure you follow my YouTube. Every week there's new content about project management. Make sure also to follow me my Instagram account. Every week there I'm also sharing every day there I'm sharing new pieces of content on project management, because if your goal here is to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you. And of course, if you want my help here with anything, you can click in the link in the description here. You're going to get a page. You're going to get information about free events, uh, development programs that I have, mentoring program, and so on. And again, I hope I'm going to see you in this journey, because I do the project management journey can be very enjoyable if you have the right mentality there. Thank you and see you soon.